All right, it looks like most people have gotten in, so I think we'll start. Hi, I'm Ann Mordecai, and there's Heather Jenkins. We're from Demonstrated Success, and we are we're going to be doing this webinar, Understanding and Leveraging the New Hampshire SAS Results, and this is from the Department of Ed. There we are again. If you want to read about us, you can learn a little more about us when you get the link to this PowerPoint, which we will send tomorrow. And thank you. You've almost survived the whole year. We're almost at the end, and this has been a majorly tough year. So thank you all for your dedication to your students and the towns and mostly your students. During the webinar, everyone will be muted. At the end, if we have time, we will unmute you. You can raise your hand and ask questions and use your voice to ask them. So hang on if you have some questions at the end. Please ask questions during the webinar. I will be here monitoring the question and answer section of the panel. There is also a chat section where you can put in questions, but it might not see them as quickly as I'll see them in the question and answer section. I'll look at them and I'll read them to Heather. I'm not going to read them. I'm not going to interrupt her immediately, but I'll usually find a good time to make a break and ask her. So please ask questions. If you have something you want everybody to see, some information, just put it in the chat and everyone will get it. At the end, a survey will be sent to you, and we would love your feedback. It's great to get some feedback so we can keep improving these webinars. Tomorrow, you'll get an email that will have a link to a folder that will have this PowerPoint, the PD certificate, any files that Heather talks about today, and a link to the video of this webinar. So thank you very much. And Heather, it's all yours.
All right, this is where I come in. So this is my gentle reminder. If you've been to a webinar that I have done in the last little bit of time, this is a pretty familiar slide. I do thank you. This is pretty much the life of a teacher right now in this year. So we do really appreciate you coming this afternoon and taking the time out of your day for this. So some resources and contacts for you. You aren't alone. I have a link right in this Google Slides for the Department of Education's Office of Assessment. This is a live link, so you are able to contact anybody there through that office. You can also contact either myself or Anne. We put our email addresses here, and also, if you have general questions about the portal and the reporting portal or anything sort of New Hampshire SAS testing administration related, the New Hampshire Help Desk is very, very helpful. You can either call them or email them directly, and they get back to you in a very timely manner. So just a little bit of information about our goals for today. We're going to answer the following questions. How are the New Hampshire SAS summative results reported? How do I view the New Hampshire SAS summative results? And what do the results mean? And how can I use them to inform instruction? So before we dive in, I do have a poll. I'm going to put the poll up. And I just want to see who's here today so that I can know just a little bit in our brain. So if you could fill out that quick poll, it should have popped up for you so that we can see who you are. You are fast. This is great. It looks like we have quite a few, kind of spread all over, where we have a lot of teachers or principals, got some curriculum coordinators here, some special educators. So pretty much everybody is here. So that's good to know that we have like a whole variety of people. Our last webinar that we did this past week were mostly admins. So good to know that we have a lot of our teachers here and some other curriculum coordinators or math specialists, like the special educators that are here as well. So thanks so much. All right. So our agenda for today, we are going to be looking at the reporting structure for the summatives. We're going to be looking at the scoring structure. Then we're going to look at a little bit of the actual data. And then I wanted to show you some different data views and some different reports that you can print on the ORS. And then after that, we will have wrap up and questions. So just to begin, for the New Hampshire SAS, the reporting structure, just some general information here is the results are available on the portal once the tests are completed. Just a reminder that the ELA results are available once the reading and writing portions are complete. We have had some folks asking about why their ELA results aren't showing up. And they have thought that the students have submitted their writing, but they actually hadn't. So if you have some discrepancies or you're not sure why some students aren't showing up, it could be that they haven't submitted their writing. It also could be that there are a few results that have been hand scored rather than the automatic scoring for writing. So it might take just a little bit of extra time, but for the most part, everything should be there. Again, if for some reason something's not showing up, you can always reach out and we can help you figure out if maybe there's some students that haven't submitted. So anybody who is set up as a teacher in TIDE will need rosters set up in TIDE to be able to view student test results. This can be done at any time. It didn't have to be done before the students took the test. So if you are a teacher and for some reason you can't see the results, you need to talk to one of your TIDE administrators and make sure that you have rosters set up. Anybody who is a school test coordinator or a district test coordinator can see student results without any rosters. They're able to view everything without them. And just so you can understand, I know a lot of people have been asking, yes, the DOE is looking at the data, but it is not necessarily for accountability this year. It's still important, but that's been a question that's been on a lot of people's minds. So just some general roster information. I wanted to put a little bit of information here because a lot of folks have been asking about rosters because they want to be able to view the data. So students can be part of multiple rosters, not just one, they can be a part of many. Typically, teachers have access to their grade and then may also be given a roster for just their particular class. In some schools, they choose for you just to see your particular class as well. So it really does depend on your admin, how the rosters are set up. Obviously, it's creating them allows your teachers to see the results. Not just from the summatives, but from any of them. So it was for the interims, if you do the modular assessments as well. So any of the New Hampshire SAS assessments. These are some recommendations off of the Cambium portal that talk about when you create a roster, just some simple guidelines for folks to follow to be able to have your teachers view the results as easily as possible. Naming conventions, the second bullet here, is really important for consistency so that people know which roster is which. In addition, I don't have slides in here today about this, but if you are somebody who's looking to just see maybe your special ed population or somebody, some students on IEPs, or maybe your English language learners, the reporting portal on the ORS does not break apart student groups like that. So if you are looking to just see how all of your students on IEPs did on a specific assessment, like for the summatives, you will most likely want to create a roster that has all of your students that are that have IEPs or are ELL or whatever group you're looking at. If you create a roster, it's a little bit easier to see that information broken out a little bit differently. Again, the ORS does not break it out automatically. It doesn't allow you to choose specific student groups like that. So rosters are the best way to go to be able to view that information. Okay. Any questions yet, Anne? I've been seeing a couple things pop up, but I didn't know if there's any questions so far.
There were 2 questions, but I'm answering them with
okay,
typing.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So moving on to the New Hampshire SAS summative reporting structure. So the way that things are reported are in these different ways. There's subjects, reporting categories, clusters, and standards. So I'm going to go through each one of these. First with subjects. Here's your subjects that we have for the summatives. We have ELA, grades 3 through 8, math 3 through 8, and then science is only in grade 5, 8, and 11. When we talk about the subjects, all of the information in the summative assessments come from these particular areas. So the math comes from the Common Core standards for math practice. The English language arts standards for the Common Core are for the ELA, and then the next generation science standards are for science. For reporting categories, here's some just general information about the different reporting categories for each subject. So I just want to stop and show you for a second here that for grades 3 through 5, you can see the reporting categories here. We have operations and algebraic thinking. We have numbers and operations base 10 and fractions. So numbers and operations fractions. Just so you know, there are two what we would call domains of mathematics in one reporting category. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the data. Same thing with measurement data and geometry. Those are two math domains that are reported within one category. So math specifically, I wanted to point out that there are sometimes two domains within one reporting category. And then for ELA here, we have reading informational text, reading literature, and writing. We do not have any speaking and listening standards broken out into a separate reporting category. So those are the three for ELA, and then science are your different areas of science: earth and space, life science, and physical science. There is a, in the folder for tomorrow, there's a little cheat sheet for reporting categories if you end up needing it. So if we're looking at just math right now, and we're looking at the reporting categories, if you're looking at the Common Core documents, which is kind of on your left-hand side here, those are your reporting categories. So you can see there's operations algebraic thinking and numbers and operations base 10. There's more than that, but that's the way that they're shown on the Common Core. Same thing, here's the Common Core for ELA. So your reporting categories are the ones that are up at the top there. So these are reading standards for literature and reading standards for informational text. For science, if you're looking on the next generation science site, the reporting categories are broken out. This is 5th grade example. So physical science, life science, and earth science. And then if we get down into the clusters and standards, those same documents here, like math, I just have operations and algebraic thinking here right now. So that's our reporting category. The clusters are written underneath there, right? And then your standards are underneath your clusters. It gets a little bit confusing, but we'll also, you'll see this in screenshots from the reporting portal. So it will make a little bit of sense. Same thing for ELA. Here's our Common Core for reading standards for literature. These are our clusters, and then underneath your clusters, you have your standards. For science, it's a little different. So our clusters are here. These are all physical science. So underneath your physical science, like reporting category, you have your clusters. And then that's it for the reporting portal for science. That does not get down into the standard level, just the cluster level. Okay, we're going to move on to the New Hampshire SAS scoring structure. I'm going to go through that same sort of pattern and show you what the different scoring is for each one of those levels. Before I do that, I'm just making sure with Anne, I see some things popping up, so just checking.
Yeah, we have a question about the writing tests. Are they scored by computer algorithm?
They are computer scored. But what I was saying in the beginning that might have been confusing is that they're pulling a few of them aside. Sometimes when a score could go either way, or there's a question, they'll pull it and they'll hand score it, and then they'll put that in. But the very large majority, the vast majority, are computer scored. Okay. All right. Feel free to interrupt as I go. I'm just going to continue moving on with our scoring structure. So again, there's 4 levels here of scores. There's a subject, reporting category, clusters, and standards. So for subjects, you have 4 levels of reporting. These are the colors. And then for each one, I've put in here just a little snippet about what that means. So we've got level 1, which is below proficient. Level 2 is approaching proficient. Level 3, proficient in applying, and level 4, highly proficient in applying. There's another cheat sheet in the folder for you tomorrow. So that will be right with a little bit more information about it as well. So for subject scores, there's also something that are called cut scores. So to get a level 1, you would have for 3rd grade, you would be less than a score of 410. And you can see level 2 is between here, level 3, and level 4. Now, all of these scores are based off of our scaled score within the reporting portal. So here is the scaled score. So I have my students over here, and every student gets a scaled score. So again, their level is dependent on what their scaled score is. So again, these cut scores have to do with their scaled scores. So this is just, again, just another little piece of information. This is available on the reporting portal. And we also have a little cheat sheet for you as well in that folder for you tomorrow. So yep.
Can I just interrupt 1 second? I just want Melissa White, who is here from the DOA, she just wanted us to make sure that that we told schools that the waiver for the state for these scores was based on the 95% participation and not, they still will be looking, they still will be sending scores to the feds. Right. And the ATS, TSI, CSI schools will not be identified this year based on these scores, but it's possible for people to get off of that list based on these scores.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
We have another question, sorry. How are cut scores determined?
I actually don't know. We were working. I believe that the way that they're looking at it is they have to determine it with some sort of algorithm.
Melissa would like to, it's part of the standard setting. I'm going to unmute Melissa so that she can answer us. Hold on a second. I've got to find you here. I know you're here because I can see that you're here, but I can't find you. Melissa, you might have to type it in. It is part of the standard setting when they're looking at questions and determining whether questions are valid or not. If anybody remembers from the first year we did these tests, it took a while to get the scores because there was a scoring process they went through. I don't know why I can't find you, Melissa. I can't unmute you. Oh, now I can.
Oh, she's got it.
There you go.
Thanks, Anne.
Sorry.
So when it comes to how the cut scores are determined, if you go onto the Office of Assessment website, you'll see there all of our technical documents are located on that site. If you look under the New Hampshire SAS section, there'll be technical reports, and so there'll be the annual report, the glossary. You can go into the setting performance standards, and then the score, volume 6 is the score interpretation guide. That will go into the details on how these cut level scores were generated, and it goes into all of the formulas and standard setting and that type of thing that was done in order to have these achievement levels determined. So it has all of the very, very technical details that the psychometricians put together for that piece of it. So that's available there. And then I just do want to clarify, since I do the levels change over time? They can change over time, but it's dependent upon the development, item development. So the item development, when they are developing items we have like a huge process that it actually goes through that takes a couple of years for items to be developed for these assessments. And so those levels can change, but not at this time. So what you see in there now, that in that score interpretation guide, those are the cut level scores. If we were to make significant changes to the blueprints and to the assessment, then we would have new cut scores and we would put those technical guides out there so you could see that information. And then since I have the floor, I just want to be clear on the accountability piece. And so our waiver covers the 95% participation requirement, but we've been very clear from the beginning that the U.S. Department of Education is requiring us to report out all of our results. So we are required by law to report out all results of our assessments. And so we'll have to do that. For the most part, they will be looking at subgroup information, but because New Hampshire, our subgroups tend to have a pretty small N size, and because of identifying, legal requirements, those sometimes don't get reported out because of that piece. But for the most part, just to be clear, yes, we are going to be required to report all of our results. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
All right. So as we're moving on here, just to kind of get back in for reporting categories, the scoring structure for them is a little bit different. Again, the reporting categories, these are what I'm talking about here. So for reporting categories, we're looking at just 3 levels for scoring rather than 4. And I'll point that out when we get into the portion where I'm showing you the portal. But for each reporting category, there are also examples of what a low, at or approaching, or on or above is. These are just some examples of them. To be honest, the way that they're sort of worded is whatever standards you are looking at, whatever reporting category you're looking at, are students low? Are they at or approaching? Or are they on or above with all of those standards? So the wording is available also on the reporting portal, but more importantly, there are not going to be specific cut scores or anything for that. They're based on the student responses within a specific category. And again, here's where I'm talking about. We have for our total, this happens to be for science, a total score for the reporting category is 4 levels. And then each one of the reporting categories has just 3 levels of reporting. Just a little bit of clarification. There have been some question from folks about why are they overall within a specific category, but then when we look at our, or within a specific reporting area, so here we have overall ELA, so you have 4 levels. And then when we get down into our reporting categories, folks are wondering why students are not necessarily showing up in the category that they would think. So here's an example. Overall ELA, let's pretend a student had a level 1 score. You might see for reading literature or reading informational text that they fall into that level 2. And it's just because that level 2 becomes a larger area, or they might be right on the cusp of an overall level 1 here. The same thing can happen up at the higher end. You might see students who have an overall level of 4, but then within reporting categories, they might be a level 2 or maybe just a level 3. And it becomes a little bit confusing, but this is hopefully allows you to understand that the reporting category sort of in the middle can make it a little bit tricky to understand how folks are showing up either specifically way down at the bottom or way at the top. With the clusters and standards, the scoring structure is similar to reporting categories, but so for the overall performance distribution, you still have your 3 levels, but within each cluster, you have a little bit of a different reporting or scoring structure. So here are two clusters under reading literary text that are shown right here. And the way that we're looking at that, this cluster reporting, you're able to do right here. I'm down to the roster level, but you can either do this at the grade level or the school level or the roster level, but not at the student level. This particular information here disappears at the student level. So know that when we're looking at cluster scores, we're talking basically at roster level or above. As we go through this, the standards are actually underneath your clusters. So here's the standards that we have for this particular area. And again, this is able to be viewed at the roster level or above. You won't see this if you click on a specific student. And then if you are wondering what this standard is, this is actually the reading literary text. You're looking at craft and structure. It's standard 4. If you wanted to know exactly what that was, you can see that in the portal, when you click right on this I, it will give you the actual standard that it's looking at. So if we're looking at this little area, I just want to kind of zoom in a little bit to that. And I want to show you what one of these columns is. So it says proficient. And what this means is if there's a check mark, it's above the proficiency standard. The sort of half full circle is at or near, and the X is below proficiency. You can also sometimes get insufficient information depending on how many students have gotten specific questions on that standard. The second column that I wanted to talk about is the weak or strong. And the weak or strong is a little bit different. So the weak or strong is the plus means it's an area of strength. The equal sign is the performance is similar to the performance on this particular test as a whole. And then the area of weakness would be, again, something now that would be needed to be worked on. I want to really explain, though, that it's based on your own data, so your own group. So if you are looking at a specific roster, you are looking at what may be an area of weakness for that group of students in reading literary text or craft and structure. So you've got underneath here for standard 4, is this standard overall something that's a strength for them in the reading literary text portion of the assessment, or is it something that might be performance is similar to the test as a whole? So the example that I usually give is you might have, for this particular area where it says proficient here, you might have all below proficiency standard, but you may still have here a plus as it's an area of strength compared to all the other sort of portions of this test, if that makes sense. Ask questions if you have questions about that, because it's also the same thing goes for if I have above proficient in all of these, if I had check marks everywhere, I have really high students in this particular group, you will still see in this area, there might be a minus because technically it would be an area of weakness for this particular group of students. Okay. All right. Just for science, a little bit of clarification. Here is our science information here. So we have a reporting category for science. And then within that, we have clusters, but we do not have standard scores. So this same information here applies, but it just is at the cluster level rather than at the standard level. Questions? Anne, did I confuse everybody yet?
Well, I don't think you confused people, but there are no questions. And if you have questions, please ask. Or if you are confused, just say you're totally confused and we can back up a little bit.
All right. So now we're going to take a look at some of the data. So the way that you're going to view the data is you're going to go right into the portal. Here is the URL for that, New Hampshire portal, cambiamass.com. It should be pretty familiar to you at this point, specifically if you were gave any of the summative assessments. If you were somebody who administered them, you're going to go right into the same test administration area. Instead of clicking test administration, we're going to click on reporting, and then you're going to log in. And this is what I see when I log in. You will see whatever information that you have access to. So if you are a school administrator, you'll see your whole school. If you're a district administrator, you can see a whole district. If you are a teacher, you will most likely just see the information for your particular areas that you've been given access to. So for your rosters. Now, as we go through here, you can see I have 3 different areas that I am able to look at. These are my reporting categories or my subject scores. This information here as well, because I am a district level person for this, I see every single grade level. So that's what this is representing. Again, every single grade level and so forth. If you want to look at a specific assessment and those scores, you click right on the one that you want to view. So I'm looking at math. And then it will list everything again that you have access to within the reporting portal. So here I have all these different grade levels. At the top here, I just want to point out that you can use any of these to sort. The up or down arrows work on any page that you see up or down or arrows, and you can sort in ascending or descending order. You also have just this general information. So for grade 5, here's the overall performance distribution. This is the date that an assessment was last taken, how many students took it, and all of that. So if you're looking at a specific area or you want to filter, let's say you have a lot of, if you have something, your district person in Manchester, you might want to be able to filter by specific schools or things like that. So you can use those filters. I'm going to click right on grade 5 and open that up. And what you will see here, again, it depends on your access, but I would see the school names down the left-hand side, and then I would see the general district information, and I would be able to see my total distribution for each one of those here. In addition, I can take a peek at these little plus symbols up on the top here. Right now, I'm just looking at the total. For this is that scaled score that I was talking about, that is how the performance levels are determined, is from this scaled score. If I'm looking at any of these over here and I want to open, let's say, operations and algebraic thinking, I can now open that and it makes it a little bit wider on my screen, and I have some of the same information. Right here, I don't have a scaled score that is exact. I have like kind of a same thing, an average scaled score. Here's my performance distribution. And then here are my standards and everything over here on the right-hand side. And then I have my pluses and minuses here. So we can see overall, here's our reporting category. Here's our clusters. Here's our standards. Here again, this is our proficiency level, and this is telling us whether they're weak or strong. So again, as I'm looking at this, for school 1, this would be what they would be looking at for school 1 for these, right? School 2 is different, school 3. If I want to drill into a specific school, here's what the school looks like. Again, I have over here, now I have my rosters. If for some reason you don't have rosters set up, you will have one line that says students not on any roster. And then you would know that you might need to possibly set up rosters for your teachers to be able to view the information. There are definitely some schools where the administrators are the ones that view the information and they disseminate that to their teachers. But if you do want your teachers, again, make sure you set up your rosters. Here's my general information here. I have all of my pluses so I can look at my reporting categories. If I close my total and I choose measurement data and geometry, I am now sort of looking at a long string of information here. Again, now I have my rosters on the left-hand side, and then I'm looking at all of this information by roster. Okay, just a reminder about that proficient or weak or strong. If I want to view more of the information, I'm just going to click on my little right arrow and it brings me the rest of my measurement and data and geometry information here. So these little arrows back and forth on the reporting portal will become your friends because it's a little bit tricky to see all of the information there. I also wanted to point out that there are two reporting categories that are reported a little differently than the others, specifically for math. So modeling and problem solving and use of mathematical reasoning do not have all the pluses and minuses and check marks. They are reported out just specifically by performance distribution. So that one's just a little bit different. Again, so now I'm looking at my, if I am looking at this, I need to be able to be at the roster level or above to be able to see a lot of these scores. As soon as we get into the student level, these reporting categories will also be on the student level, and they will look relatively similar to this, except they'll just say level 1, level 2, or level 3. If I click on my specific roster, now I have my students here. So within the student area, I have, again, these are all my specific students' scaled scores. So up at the top here, you can see that I have my district, my school, and then my students here. So if you have a specific roster, so this one has rosters, you can see how your students are overall, and then each student's level. For math, the total, they also have a reported quantile measure, which is an interesting, it's a mathematical measure. The Department of Education has, you get free access to the Lexile Quantile Hub. It's got some really interesting information about quantile measure. It's similar, I guess I would say, to a Lexile level for language arts. So if you get the chance, again, it's the Lexile Quantile Hub. In addition, you have each student's scaled score here. And you can sort by any one of those particular areas at the top. If you are looking to sort to see your highest student to your lowest or your lowest to your highest, use the scaled score rather than the performance. The scaled score is just a little bit more specific so that you have, when you have your whole group of level ones, it has your lowest student right at the top and then on down. You can open any of these reporting categories. As soon as you open them, this is what you get. You no longer have all those checks and pluses and minuses. You get just an overall how this particular student performed at on this particular reporting category. So you cannot see the cluster or standard level responses, specifically because students all get different questions. So it's a little bit, you can't have it wouldn't necessarily be apples to apples. A little bit of different differences with ELA scores I wanted to point out. So if we're looking at our English language arts, I'm at the school level right now. You can see my school names are down here. Again, ELA scores are shown after the students complete both reading and writing assessments. And then for the reading informational text and reading literary text, you are going to get the same exact information as those math reporting categories with all those checks and pluses and all of that. So those read the same way. What is a little bit different, however, is the writing. When you're looking at your writing scores, you see here, I'm at the roster level here. And so what ends up happening is you get these little, you get percentages. So here's my information or explanatory essay, and then this is my opinion. If I click right on this little I here, this will pop up, and it basically gives you a little key for what the green arrow and the red arrow are. So the way that it works is the green arrow here is, it shows the percentage of students that scored the most points, right? Like the highest number of points for this particular area. So for conventions, this particular roster here scored 91% of the students scored the maximum number of points. We don't have any students who scored the minimum number, so there's no red down arrow here. For evidence and elaboration, this particular roster, this is the least amount of points. 18% of those students scored the least amount of points. So that's the highest percentage of all of these. For evidence and elaboration, we don't have anybody who scored the highest level of points available, so there's no green up arrow. So if we're looking at organization and purpose, this particular roster here, 14% of the students scored the minimum number of points. This is the roster where 18% or the highest percent of students scored 4 or more, and so on. Same thing for here. Again, you don't have a green arrow up here because nobody scored the maximum level of points. Okay. All right. So this is the view of the writing data at the school or roster level. This is not the student level. There actually, when you're at the student level on the reporting portal, there is no writing information that's shown on the portal in a visual way like this. I'm going to show you different reports, and you're able to download writing data, but again, it's not visible at the student level on the portal. It will be in a downloaded report. Okay, so moving on here, and I'll just pause for just a second, see if there's any questions.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to send a few people have been asking about the writing scoring. So I'm going to put the frequently asked questions document and the 4 rubrics out there for people to look at.
Great.
Okay,
great.
It'll be on the chat.
Thank you. All right. So looking at different data views. So now we're going to take a peek at what some of the reports look like in the system. So the individual student report, this is a report that shows an individual's results for either ELA, math, or science. It's available in a simple or detailed report. The simple report shows a student score, and it shows a performance in each reporting category. And the detailed report shows those 2 things, the student score and the performance in each reporting category, along with longitudinal data. That longitudinal data is really only available for grade 5 and above. It will show on grades 3 and 4, but there won't be anything that it's comparing to. And this report can be used to send home to parents. So there's also an option to print supplemental materials to help with them understanding the scores. And it can be batch printed by school, grade, roster, or individually. So I'll show you how to do this. If you are looking in the portal, right here is where I'm talking about this download student results. I will tell you, the way that I'm going to show you to run the report is from the main reporting screen. But if you were to click on to Summative ELA, you were to open up your roster, you could click download student results and download all your students right from there and not go through every single step that I'm going to go through here. I'll show you what I mean. So when I clicked on it there, it's asking me to choose a specific report. So I'm going to choose Spring 2021 SAS summatives. It's going to ask me which subject I would like. So you can choose whichever subject you would like. Right. And then it will allow you to choose school name. If this is what you have access to, you can choose any of your school names here. Now, if I wanted to use these arrows here, I could choose specific students, I could choose a school or what have you. So again, if I'm in the reporting portal and I've gone all the way down, for this, I chose math. So if I went into the math summatives and I chose a specific grade level, I could have clicked on that download student results and it would have brought this screen up here and I would be just filling in this information here on the right-hand side. So individual student report is what I want. You can choose whether you want a single PDF or multiple PDFs in a zip file. I would say most often, even if you're printing this out by, if you're printing it out for your class, I would still do a single PDF because most likely you're not sending this via email. You're probably printing it. And so it will print for each student. And you don't have to print it multiple times. You don't have to go into, okay, here's Heather's, let me print Heather's. Here's Anne's, let me print Anne's. We're both all in the same file and it just prints one particular file. Right now I'm going to keep simple and I'm not going to include any supplemental materials. So I'm going to click generate. And once I generate this, it's going to seem like nothing has happened. I will be here and all I need to do is click on my inbox. And then it will show all of the reports that I have created. And I'm going to click on the one. Once you click on it, it downloads it to your computer. And then you just double click on it from your downloads and it opens it up. So this is what it looks like for math. I want to drill in a little bit so we can look. So this is the top of it. I've cut off the student information, but there's all the student information up at the top. And then it tells you the student score. You can see where they are within a level and what that means. And then on the right-hand side, it gives you a little bit of information about their quantile level and sort of what you can do with that within the what that particular quantile measure means. Also, on the bottom of the page, it will show you how the students did on each reporting category, where their performance fell within that reporting category. This little dash is in the middle here. And then you can see what their performance level is, and then what this means, what your next steps would be, or what that student might need. If I wanted to do the detailed report, pretend I'm sort of at the same school level, I would choose the individual student report. I could choose, again, a single PDF if I choose detailed here. And I'm going to include the supplemental materials so I can show you what they look like. And detailed and generate. So now again, you think maybe nothing's happened, but you click here, this downloads it, and you can open it up. It's got 3 different pages. The first and third page are very similar, they're just larger. So here we are again. We have this particular, this is an ELA one, so it's a little bit different. So here's where the student scored within that level 3. You can see here a little bit about their Lexile level. This is the second page. This is the child's progress. You can see how they did on 2019 and 2021. You can see if they've improved or not. And then it tells you what their score was and what it is now. The last page will show you for the reporting categories. So here's the 2 reporting categories where it's showing you the on or above, at or approaching, or low. Here's the middle here. And then here's their essay. So this is their writing score. So they got a 5 out of 10. It tells you how they scored on conventions, evidence and elaboration, and organization and purpose. So these particular reports do show your writing scores. It's not the only way to get them, so don't think that you have to print out these really long reports. I'll show you another way to get them as well. So this is the supplemental material for this particular report. So this is what you might want to be able to send home to parents. It can go on the simple report as well. You can print out this supplemental. So with the simple report, you have the student scores on one side and the supplemental material on the back. So a little bit different now. We're going to still go to download student results, but we're going to do this in a data file instead of the this particular individual student report. So you can download results at a district, school, roster, or student level. You can download results to Excel, CSV, or text file. Anything can be downloaded, whether it be ELA, math, or science. And the downloaded results include overall score and reporting category scores. And the downloaded ELA results can include individual writing scores as well. So here I am, I'm clicking on this download student results. I'm going through this whole process again, picking what I would like here, specific schools or specific students. This time I am choosing the student data file. I'm going to choose Excel. And this data file for each test or a single combined data file, it depends on what you're printing. If you would like to have, I traditionally like a data file for each test. It shows me how they're doing on each particular assessment, but you can do a single file as well. Once I click generate, again, I'm going to my inbox, clicking on this. It will download it to my computer, and this is what it looks like. I have fixed it up and made it just a little bit easier to understand. Your student names would be over here on the left. Here is their ELA scaled score. Here's their Lexile level, their overall performance. So for reading informational text and then reading literary text. And here is their scores for their writing. You will see here, I've got the information and explanatory, so conventions, evidence and elaboration, and organization and purpose. And then here's all my opinion scores. All of these NAs mean that their information is they did a different essay. So you'll see some NAs depending on which particular type of essay they did. In addition, you might see this prompt copy match. What that means is that this particular student wrote verbatim what was in the reading or information that went with the essay, and it was too much of a match that they weren't using their own words, so they don't get a score. If I want to print results, this little print button is on is pretty much on every screen within the reporting portal. It's a very similar process to downloading results, but the format is just a little different. You can download results at a district, school, roster, or student level. You can print the results or save as a PDF or download to an Excel or CSV file. Again, ELA, math, or science, and it includes overall scores and reporting category scores. And the ELA results include individual writing scores. So again, here we are. Now, I want you to see where I am in the system here. So this is my main screen. And so I have drilled down into a specific, I'm on the summative grade 5 here. And you can see right here, I'm in my science. I have also clicked on the Performance by Student tab. And then it's from here that I'm going to print. If I print from that main screen, all I'm going to get is literally what's on that main screen. So I'm going to get the ELA summative, the math summative, and the science summative for whoever you have access to. And it's just going to be an overall score. It's not going to drill down into any specific results. So I like to do it from the Performance by Student tab. So I'm in my student area. Now I get, when I click print, I love all of the color, and I'm really a color visual person. This particular report, I don't love in this form here because it does cut off for specific students. So I like to save again to Excel. As soon as I save to Excel and I click confirm, it pops the screen right up for me. And again, when I click on it, it downloads it to my computer, and this is what it looks like within Excel. So now I have my student names. This is again for science. I have my scaled score, my overall performance level, and then for each one of my reporting categories, how that particular student scored. The last thing I want to show you is the longitudinal report. This one's new to most of us. So this is a comparative report that shows the summative scores for 2019 compared to 2021. It's available at the district level or the school level. It's available for ELA and math. And it is available for grades 5 and above, specifically because our grade 3 and 4 students have never taken the summative before this year. So here's the way we get into this. I'm on my main screen. I choose whatever area I want to. So I'm going to choose ELA. Here is my specific grade level. Again, I'm going to choose a grade level 5 or above. So I'm choosing ELA grade 5. And then you will see on the left-hand side here, this build longitudinal report. If you get too far in and you're at the student level, you won't see this anymore. So just keep in mind that that's why this might be going away, depending on which level you're looking at. So as soon as I click this, this is what shows up. I can see my overall score. What I want to point out here is this particular view, the score is going to go up because your average score from 2019 to 2021 is going up. But what I want to point out here, so you can see this at the bottom, what I want to point out is when you click on score here, this is the view that I like, because even though the average score went up, we're talking 3rd grade to 5th grade. So now I can see here overall in 2019, these are sort of the level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. These are the percentages for each level. And I like the visual here with the color where I can see, okay, I had more students, more of these students were a level 4 in 3rd grade than they are now in 5th grade. That's great, right? So you can kind of see how students have improved or not with this particular report. So that's the part that I like there. And that's pretty much it for, you can print it. You can save it as a PDF, you can save it as a CSV, or I like to just print it and choose landscape. And that's that. All right, so that is sort of the end of where we have our reports and what we have available in the portal. So I'm just going to open it up, Anne, to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, I couldn't attach the documents. So I put the instructions on how to get to them, but do you think you could just go to the portal and show people how to find the resources?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to escape here. I'm going to go here. So we're in test administration here. And then I am going to choose test administration resources. And then as soon as I'm here, There is a general information area here. You're going to go for teachers. And then this is what Anne's talking about with the rubrics. So we have, these are the modular and interim. So these are your summative rubrics. So if you're looking for grades 3 through 5, explanatory or informative is here, their opinion is here, and then 6 through 11, argumentation, and informative and explanatory. So what I'm going to do.
Oh, wait, before you close that, can you just go a couple, like the third box down? Next one, yep, is auto score. That's the auto score document that talks about how and why the auto score is used for writing.
Yes, and so before I'm going to go there, I'm going to go to, I'm just sending this is this screen. I just sent a link to this screen. And then if I go on the auto score, this is the auto score document. So I'll put that in as well, the link to that. So everybody should have those 2 links there. Anything else, Anne?
Sorry, I'm babbling away and I'm muted.
I thought so.
I don't see any more questions at the moment, but please ask them. Oh, and Evelyn said you can just click the resources bar at the bottom of the page. Did not know that. That's good.
I did not know that either. I'm going to escape out of here and see what she's talking about here. So if I'm here, the resources.
Oops. Go, they're up to the top of the page.
Oh, at the top.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And she did say top. I don't know why I read it as bottom.
Okay. So you can look. Oh, this is new to me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
Great. Thank you, Evelyn.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I'm going to keep going. And then if we have more questions, then I'll answer them. So we have some more webinars this month, just a couple more. If you go to the demonstratedsuccess.com website and you choose the data coaching, here's the last 2 data coaching webinars we have remaining for this particular school year. We have the iPlatform and DOE data and reports. If you haven't seen that, there's a lot of changes to iPlatform. There's some amazing data that is out there, and they've worked really hard to get as much information out there as they can to you. So I would highly recommend taking a look, or at least looking at a recording of that particular webinar. And then understanding your SAT data, that is a webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago and had some good attendance for. So if you're looking to understand a little bit more about your SAT data, that's coming up on June 23rd. All of our past webinars are available. The recordings are right on our website, or if you go to YouTube and type in Demonstrated Success, you can view any of the past recordings there. We also, I kept this in here, it's the end of the year, but we also have a New Hampshire SAS Modular PD program. Looking at the modular assessments in the New Hampshire SAS system, the modulars are really great quick assessments that have to do with specific domains, whether it be for math or for reading. And they are short little assessments that really help teachers understand the standards and the depth of knowledge students need to be able to understand those Common Core standards. So if you have any questions about it, we love our modular assessments, so just let us know. And then here's our general information. If you wanted to contact Anne or I, or again, the Department of Ed Office of Assessment and the Campion folks.